Can we now have the mover of motion 23 from Glasgow Anniesland CLP?
Thank you very much, Chair. Paul Cruikshank from Glasgow Anniesland CLP. Final motion. We've almost made it, folks. Before I start speaking, I want to thank the Conference Arrangements Committee for agreeing to meet with me yesterday morning, listen to the points I made and allow the motion up for debate. Conference, we know that local government is struggling under the SNP. In Glasgow ourselves, we've just gone through a local budget process and all it entails. Across Scotland, over £1 billion, that's billion with a B, has disappeared from local authorities over the last 10 years. Now, they are not all Tory cuts the SNP have just passed on. These are SNP cuts and SNP decisions made in Holyrood. But the question becomes for Labour councillors, what can local authorities do? At the moment, their options are limited. They can raise council tax, but only as much as the SNP government will allow. They could levy a transient visitors levy, but only once the legislation is in place. They could consider a workplace parking levy, but only if permission is given from the Scottish Parliament. And on that point, I'd have hoped for yesterday a bit of a more nuanced discussion in our conference about balancing the powers of local government against the individual consequences of austerity. I don't think, for example, a workplace parking levy would be appropriate across Scotland, but in Glasgow or Edinburgh, where car use is not just detrimental environmentally, but is causing clear, recognisable and recordable deaths, maybe. But that's not necessarily for me or conference or the government in Edinburgh to decide. The people best placed to decide that are the people who live in these areas and the people they elect, local councillors. Local councillors, when they've been given a bit of leverage and leeway in the past, have been remarkable and been the birthplace of many radical ideas. I want to give one example from Glasgow. When Glasgow won the 2014 Commonwealth Games bid, they knew they didn't want the Games just to run their course over the course of 2 weeks, but share that legacy amongst all its citizens. So the Commonwealth Games became a catalyst for the Glasgow Guarantee, improving employability prospects for young people across the city. And now youth unemployment in Glasgow is among the lowest in the country. It was local government that did that. When Glasgow Anniesland's first MSP and Scotland's First Minister, Donald Dewar, helped usher in the era of Scottish devolution, he did something different in the Scotland Act. Instead of proscribing a list of powers, our new Parliament was empowered to meet Scotland's needs and demands, to think creatively and innovatively. What does this lead to? Well, under Labour, it led to the abolition of tuition fees and the creation of a graduate endowment. It led to the introduction of a smoking ban years before other parts of the UK were even thinking about it. And it led to free personal care and the introduction of free bus travel for the over 60s, and hopefully, under the next Labour government, for under 25s, and then for everyone else. All these ideas put Labour policy into actual practice. So when Richard Leonard uses his favourite phrase, one of mine as well, municipal socialism, the roots of that can already be found. When local government is trusted and nurtured to be bold and radical in its thinking, it can be about principles and policy, not having to get stuck in process. It can let them deliver 21st century services in a 21st century fashion. This is the radical idea that could really change our communities. This can lead to many things: municipal bus ownership, new models of social care and educational delivery, civic pride grants to revitalise civic spaces, empty shop grants to help local businesses off the ground and into high street shops. Municipal bonds, municipal loans are all options, not requirements, that can appear when local authorities are empowered and allowed to be bold. And I have to say, Conference, England is ahead of us on this. These are all ideas that have come through local government thoughts in England. No more would the first question for our councillors be, how do we do that? Whether we can do that, but how do we do that? How do we best do that? The future of socialism should owe more to William Morris than to Herbert Morrison. No longer command and control from the centre, but common ownership entrusted not just in central government, but in local government, local communities and in our workplaces. Because by the strength of our common endeavour, we achieve more than we achieve alone. That is something we all in this room believe. Citizens coming together to create power, to use their collective clout and to set their sights higher and build a better Scotland. Conference, part of that is local government, and Conference, I move the motion. Thank you.